Hey, how's it going, everybody? Mike Weber here, your Los Angeles real estate broker, here with your market update for the beginning of June 2022. I think you guys are going to find this is an interesting video because we really are starting to see some serious changes in the real estate market. In fact, this may be the calm before the storm or the beginning of a very difficult and vastly more expensive real estate market that we're going to be experiencing for a while. So before we get into the data, what's actually happening out there in the market, kind of just in general terms? We're seeing a dramatic fall in pending home sales across the board. Inventory has remained pretty stable. It's extremely low, kind of similarly to what we experienced last year, but pending home sales have actually fallen completely off a cliff. So what's happening, I think, is that a lot more buyers are just leaving the market. They're not willing to pay the higher rates that are going to be required to buy these homes or the dramatically higher prices than what they would have had to pay just a year ago. And a lot of sellers are not listing their homes and they're not willing to put their homes on the market at a fair and reasonable price. So we're kind of seeing a game of chicken right now between sellers and buyers, and it's going to be very exciting to see who wins. So let's go ahead and jump into the data, and we'll start out in Los Angeles County to see what's happening there in the broader market, and then we'll dive down into the South Bay as well. All right, so for Los Angeles County, we're seeing still strong price growth across the board at about 10.2% year over year. So certainly we're not seeing this huge drop in pending home sales affect home prices, at least yet, which is kind of interesting. But if we take a look at pending home sales, that's where we see something dramatically different from what we've seen for the last 8, 9, 10 years since I've been in the real estate business. And that is, we are down 41% compared to where we were a year ago. And we're actually kind of at a point now where we generally are at in December, which is kind of like the worst year for real estate because everybody's on holiday, they're on vacation, people really don't want to buy and sell often in December. And so we're seeing home sales hit a point that we would expect to see in December in the off season, right now in peak selling season at the middle of the year, which is extremely weird, something that we wouldn't expect to see, and definitely an anomaly that shows something is changing, something is breaking. When we look at closed sales and juxtapose that to pending sales, we see that closed sales are also down 15% year over year, which isn't quite as dramatic. But what that tells us is the market is slowing down further, based on the data that we can see for closed sales. So the amount of sales currently pending has dropped off a cliff even worse than the 15% reduction in closed sales that we're already seeing. So really, it's pointing to a very serious slowdown in home sales in the market right now. And if we look at the supply of inventory in the county of Los Angeles, we see that we are down 14%. So obviously that can explain some of the reduction in closed sales and pending sales. However, pending sales is down disproportionately to the amount of inventory that's not on the market compared to a year ago, which means less and less homes are currently pending, less and less people are willing to buy the homes at the current prices and at the current interest rates. Interestingly, if you think about it, when we look at home prices being up about 10% in the county of Los Angeles year over year, and interest rates being up 2.5%, maybe 3%, which is equivalent, roughly speaking, to maybe a 25 to 30% increase in the cost of purchasing the same home, assuming you're actually financing it, home prices are up a dramatic, astounding 40-ish% in just one single year, which is totally, crazy to think in such a short time that prices could have went up that much. Now, obviously, you have a lot of people waiting for prices to come down or rates to come down or prices to go up or rates to go up, etc. And nobody really knows what's going to happen and how things are going to play out. And I think for that reason, if you want to buy a home or you need to buy a home, you should probably just go ahead and do that. Or if you need to sell a home, you should probably just go ahead and do that as well, because who really knows? I mean, prices could all of a sudden start coming down, and then it could be be a slippery slope of hope where, you know, you're chasing the market to the bottom as a seller and you never get your home sold. Or prices can continue to rise, inventory could remain low, and interest rates can continue to go up, meaning the cost to purchase the same home a year from now could be again vastly higher than it was today, and that could not let up for a very long time, if ever. Now let's go ahead and move on to the South Bay beach cities. And what we see there is a dramatic spike up in home prices. I mean, this to me looks very scary because since I've been in the real estate business, home prices have been rising, 8, 10, 12% per year, kind of like clockwork. And then after all those years of seeing these, pretty consistent and very large rises in home prices, now coupled with the much higher interest rates, to see a 20% spike up in home prices year over year really just kind of scares me. I mean, it makes you start thinking, is this the beginning of hyperinflation or massive inflation that we're going to experience in this country? Or, like I said earlier, is this just the calm before the storm? Are we about to see, the market completely break? Are these the last remaining buyers that are willing to do whatever it takes to lock in the rates while they're still low before they continue to edge up and make the home buying process even more expensive? Who really knows? It's all going to depend on the amount of inventory and what happens, with the economy, interest rates in the future with the Federal Reserve, so on and so forth. And I don't think anybody really knows what's going to happen, although many people pretend that they do. Looking at closed sales in the South Bay, we see those are also down 18.4%, which is not a good sign. We're coming off a pretty weak year last year in closed sales. And so once again, we have a almost 20% weaker year. So not a lot of stuff making it to the closing table. But if we look at pending home sales, just like in the county of Los Angeles, we are down about 39% in pending home sales. So in this last month or two, the number of homes that are going into escrow has dramatically dropped down, and that is definitely signaling a serious abnormal slowdown in the market right now. And finally, if we look at the supply of inventory in the South Bay, we see that we're really only down about 6% compared to a year ago. So you really can't explain away this huge drop in closed sales and pending home sales with the reduction in the supply of inventory. So all that said, overall, we're experiencing a much more expensive market for buyers, a much more difficult market than what we've been experiencing, which has already been tremendously difficult to find homes, decent properties to purchase. We're also probably seeing less sellers listing homes at prices that will cause them to sell. I'd imagine that's going to be a growing concern moving forward. You're going to have a lot of sellers that want the moon for the property, but the market is not going to pay the moon for it. And in fact, on that note, we're seeing a huge increase in expired listings and canceled listings, which means those are properties that for one reason or another didn't sell. Oftentimes that reason is because they were priced too high and the sellers were not willing to sell them at a price that a buyer was willing to pay, or lower the price to where the market would clear the property. So I hope this information was useful. Obviously, I'll keep you updated. Definitely interesting to see such dramatic changes after kind of like the status quo for such a long period of time. If I can help you with anything real estate related anywhere in the Los Angeles area, definitely reach out to me. I'm here to help. Leave some comments down below. Let me know what you guys are seeing, what you think is going to happen. As always, I appreciate you guys watching, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Take care.